My guest today is Sasha Mitchell. Sasha is the head of Bitcoin Layer 2, well, at BeL2, which is all about Bitcoin Layer 2s. We'll learn all about this today. Welcome to the show, Sasha.
Hey Andy, it's great to be here. And yeah, really excited to talk about all the innovation going on in the space.
Absolutely. Great to have you here. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be super cool if you could please introduce yourself. Love to hear a little bit of your personal and professional story. What have you been doing in the lead up to getting involved with the team at BeL2?
Sure. All right, let's get stuck in. My background actually stems quite heavily in the creative industries. I studied music production at university, which for me was the intersection between creativity and technology. Becoming a sound engineer meant capturing all this incredible creativity, but ultimately digitizing it. And we saw so much. We've seen so much innovation in how things have been digitized, and to this date, I'd say around 20% of my friends still remain in music, but the other 80 had to pick a different career path as a result of the hardships that the music industry faced. And this kind of set me up for my purpose in where I've come to today. But from the music industry, I had the opportunity to create a band. We had a 10-piece dub soul band. We toured around the world. We had I got to do live sound engineering and just meet creativity from all different paths. It wasn't long after, a couple of years after university, which I was invited to help in the film industry digitize actors, sets, and environments. Now, this was a really big opportunity to do something completely new and exciting, and it led me to work on big film studio productions, from Jurassic World to Batman to Mary Poppins. I got a really good insight into how the commercial films are made, and working with visual effects. Again, it was working with digitization. So we'd have actors come into our environment. We'd have 160 cameras all in a sphere facing inward. They were all interconnected to computers, which ultimately had this one button we could click, which would just take them all at once. So you'd stand in the middle as an actor, you'd do a pose, and we'd capture you into basically 160 different images, and then we'd render that into a engine where we would turn you into a 3D model, an avatar. Now that then gets processed into visual effects, where, for instance, a superhero doing a stunt might be too dangerous on set, and you can make it much more effective by doing it as a digitized version. In the same way, when you see a stadium full of people, or you see like a war scene of two sides coming at each other, they'd only be about 100 or 200 max extras that would come on set. We would 3D scan them all, but now you can digitize those actors, you can add movement to them, and you can have an army of 60,000 running at each other or in a stadium. So it drastically lowers costs to have these technologies and to digitize in ways in which is continuously evolving. One of the things I had a lot of the time, now I had an amazing job where I got to travel around, see all these incredible individuals, these creatives again, and from different departments too. And one of the things was extras in particular would ask me, can I get a digital copy of myself when we'd scan them? And I'd have to say no. Reason being is that the film studios own you. You signed a contract, and I can't pass this data to you, and it's all kind of protected. So that always raised an interesting question. And then the actors, the big actors, the stars, we had one actor who came in, and his immediate reaction was, "You're here to take my soul," and he hated us. And we had this a lot, where some were lovely, but others were very dubious about what we were doing. And you look at the film industry right now, and it's actually in a standstill. There's been all these protests against basically the rise of AI and how this data can be misused. And it's not just from people who have been 3D scanned into avatars and how that could be used by AI and their rights, but it's also about directors to screenwriters and those that actually write scripts. It's a big deal. So it started to pique my interest in actual rights management, which in 2017 I studied with Oxford Said University blockchain strategy. I was always interested in university, but didn't really understand the fundamental technology. And it took me down a rabbit hole where I basically looked into blockchain from both the perspective of decentralized finance to have independence in how you can manage your own finance, but then also rights management in how you can actually own and manage your own digital rights. And this against the backdrop of the emergence of AI, robotics, and automation took me on this journey where I personally believe we need these new technologies to basically participate in the digital economy. So that took me to both BeL2, which I am head of, but also Elasticity, which I am the founder of, which is ultimately BeL2 is about finance, independence finance, and then how you can leverage that independence to manage your rights, which Elasticity deals with a marketplace for digital rights.
Yeah, got it, got it. Thank you, Sasha. And it's funny, you're talking about your, I suppose, background in the film industry and what is happening with creative culture, thanks to the fast moving exponential change that is AI. And it's funny, I'm just looking through the BeL2 website, and the first thing you see is this kind of, I guess it's like a, I don't know, it's like a video header with some illustration, and it's kind of telling a little bit of that story as well, isn't it?
Definitely. Um, yes, when we look at BeL2, really Bitcoin is a new technology. I think Bitcoin, when we look at currencies today, we're globally seeing inflation. We're seeing things are becoming more expensive, and actually it's two forces working in opposite directions. We have currencies globally that are losing value, be it that things are becoming more expensive, and then we also have technologies which, like AI and robotics, which are becoming more powerful, and they're essentially taking our jobs increasingly more. So there's been a huge shift. Really, AI especially had in 2017, it had a paper that came out called "Attention is All You Need," and it fundamentally it was a pivot in how AI architecture can be done. So it was introducing this new transformer architecture, which really revolutionized natural language processing, and it led to ChatGPT 3 that we now see. Prior to this, everyone was very fractured in how they had to use the models that were available and the technologies, and nothing was unified in AI. AI would effectively only be able to work out what the next word was, making processing and your response time very difficult. This new technology of transformers effectively allowed these models to, if you had a sentence or a big part of text, it could process it all as one. And let's say we had a sentence that said the fox crossed the road. It was very scared. It was hesitant because it was scared. The fox and it are apart from each other, but the AI is now able to differentiate or able to tell that it means the fox. And that fundamentally, when we add huge parts of text and we introduce lots of language and training, it allowed AI to exponentially just create these incredible new services and products, which has taken, I'd say, a lot of people off guard at how fast now it's evolving. And then when we think about how this is going to be integrated into robotics, I'm not sure if you saw or you know about Boston Dynamics, but they're a company that build these robots, and they do these incredible showcase videos where they show how much it's coming along. But now with this AI innovation, it's being implemented into this robotic system. So I think we're going to be absolutely taken off guard in how quickly robotics is going to also advance. And Elon Musk came out recently and said how you don't have any idea how good Teslas are going to be, because we can download software. You can download, as a Tesla owner, software to your Teslas. And next step is you're going to be downloading these trained AI models into your Teslas, and self-driving is going to actually suddenly be 7-10 times better than a human can drive. So a Tesla in itself is a robot. But the point being is that we have a currency that is losing value, and we're having to work harder and harder to get more. But then we also have a system where these new technologies and these new huge innovations are actually increasingly going to be taking our jobs. So what we need to figure out is how can we participate in this new digital economy, and not only have a currency which can get stronger in value over time, which fundamentally is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a technology that fits in the bracket of AI and robotics. It's another form of technology. And so how can we allow then Bitcoin as this new currency and technology to actually interact with these AI, with these robotic systems, and participate in these economies in a way in which if an AI was generating revenue, you can actually own some rights to that AI and you can earn revenue from that AI and people enjoying and using it. If you were to co-train an AI or you were to help with the training of the AI, can you get the value back from what society deems as useful? We want to create these systems which ultimately allow us to participate in the digital economy. And BeL2 is about making Bitcoin communicate with these ecosystems and with these technologies in a way in which you could then basically have this incredible savings account, which is growing in value rather than year by year us losing value in our money. How about year by year we save money, which actually accrues in value and it allows us to buy more each year. And then we have mechanisms to earn that money too. That to me is an exciting future.
Yes, indeed. And look, a lot going on there, Sasha. And look, we could talk kind of like, Boston Dynamics. And it's like, a Black Mirror episode come to life because the kind of the logical end point of those kind of ideas is just tiny swarms of AI powered killer drones that are kind of ruthlessly effective and very hard to defend against. But look, I don't think we should turn this into an AI weaponry podcast. Let's keep it on BeL2. So, just give us the kind of I guess the snapshot of what BeL2 essentially is, because I get that it's about it's a layer two solution for Bitcoin, but tell us how that works. So it's about facilitating smart contracts on Bitcoin, but in a different way than some of the other emerging solutions, right?
Definitely, yes. So it's fundamentally very different. And quickly going back to your point on the robotic side, which is a whole podcast in itself, I encourage your listeners to YouTube Slaughter Bots, which was a kind of a video which showcased the idea of robotics and weaponry. It's not real, but it's certainly an interesting perspective in how it can be used in a malicious way.
All right,
So
I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up, Sasha. Thank you.
yeah,
Slaughterbots.
it Slaughterbots, but it's only like a couple minutes, but it's
Yeah,
basically it's trying to basically make people aware that we need to have legislation and things in place to stop using weaponry
that's right.
or using AI and robotics in military. Anyway, so BeL2. So BeL2 is so fundamentally it's not a layer two like you'd see with other layer twos. It's actually a communications protocol that enables layer twos. So I guess the best way I can say is imagine if Bitcoin could communicate with other blockchains and it could execute deals and make terms and agreements. That's kind of what BeL2 enables. So Bitcoin really has become a really great financial vehicle. It's something which is in the space of 15 years. It's still a teenager. It's a little bit grumpy, so it's kind of up and down with its emotions, but it's maturing. And actually, for 15 years, it's how much? It's roughly 1.5 trillion, I believe, its market cap. It's 3 times bigger than Ethereum. So it's established itself as the leader. And I think as well, it's also been established, at least in the US markets, as a commodity. So it's not fighting the security battles which others might be still. And that makes it adopted. So we've seen ETFs and these vehicles for investments for society, especially in the US, and Hong Kong yesterday happened, but to basically access Bitcoin. Now, people who are accessing this Bitcoin, what if they can do more with that Bitcoin than just have it as a store of value and something that they can hold on to? And that's kind of what BeL2 enables. So we can basically create smart services, so like a financial layer, for instance, where you can, using your Bitcoin, you can actually take loans out against it into, let's say, a stable currency, or you could actually create your own stable currency. Now, what's more is you could use your Bitcoin to purchase rights and to engage in digital economies, for instance, purchasing access to an AI or purchasing access to a subscription model for a video platform. Or what's more is actually purchasing royalties and rights to those platforms or to these technologies, which then create income. So There's an intersection of different technologies coming together, but ultimately, Bitcoin is about a financial layer. And can you use that finance to essentially execute a rights layer on a layer two? So to enable these two worlds to kind of come together, we have BeL2, which is a kind of interoperability communication layer that enables layer twos to happen. And one of the big ones that I personally believe is really interesting, and the story that I'd imagine is, what if I can, on the Bitcoin network, I have, let's say, $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, but what if I can actually take a loan out against my Bitcoin without a centralized entity? So without, we saw BlockFi and these other Celsius, these big platforms, and about 4 years ago, who offered loan services, but they actually ended up blowing up because they misused your funds. And this is the problem. We don't want centralization because it opens up the possibility of corruption. What we want is protocols which allow you to take loans out, or allows you to do things with your Bitcoin, but in a decentralized network. And so what if I can, with $10,000 of Bitcoin, I can actually put it into a locking script on Bitcoin's layer one on the Bitcoin network, which means it will be locked up for a certain period of time. And then I can use BeL2 to communicate with a smart contract. It can be Ethereum, it could be Solana, it can be any ecosystem. And I can say to that smart contract that it's called a zero knowledge proof. It's a proof that I have locked up this Bitcoin. And this proof gets fed into a smart contract, which ultimately showcases that I've done this. And then it releases $5,000 worth of USD Tether, for instance. Now, there's an APR that's attached to the smart contract, and anyone can put assets into a smart contract on the layer two and make it available for Bitcoin borrowers to use. So let's say I've taken a $5,000 loan out and it's got 10% APY attached to it. I've agreed on those terms. I get released the USD Tether. And then what I want to envision is, with Elasticity, the other project, which is really a digital rights management system, imagine you can then go to a decentralized marketplace and you can purchase rights to all kinds of services, and like I mentioned, music or videos or AI. And when you hold these rights, they actually generate you immediate income every time a customer uses that platform. So you've leveraged your Bitcoin to take a loan out on a layer two. These layer twos have smart contracts, which are kind of decentralized agreements. And then I've gone and purchased rights to different digital assets, which generate me an income. I slowly but surely pay back my loan. And when it's paid back, you then have what we call relayers message back to the Bitcoin network that confirm that the smart contract's been paid back, and I unlock my Bitcoin and I get it back. So what I've effectively done is leverage this new financial tool to enter into this smart realm, and in a way in which I was able to create value, because in paying that back, in getting my Bitcoin back, I have these assets still that now sit in a layer two that generate me income. And this is where, we want to give you complete ownership and control of your financial self, but also your rights and how you can interact with other services. So that's kind of how I envision this all coming together.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating, Sasha. And I can see that ELA, right? So that's Elastos, is the layer two coin, says that has been merge mined with Bitcoin since 2018. Is that right?
This is correct. So the when in 2017, when I became really interested in blockchain, I was mainly inspired by Elastos, which is essentially a Web3 in itself. It's a Web3 project. It's a vision of what Web3 should be, which is providing all the infrastructure tools to own your own data, to own your own identity, to have your own decentralized storage, to have your own kind of communications network for peer-to-peer communications. And it was founded by someone called Rong Chen, who was he was the 10th employee of Microsoft Internet Explorer in the early 90s. Before that, he helped contribute to Mosaic supercomputers in Chicago, Illinois University, where he studied in the 80s. And he fundamentally saw the problems of the internet through centralization. whilst less financial, this was more related to our identities, because for the best part, when we're online, we're using Google, we're using these kind of centralized logins to access different platforms. Now, these centralized logins are essentially our identities or our rights that are being managed by a third party. And the problem with that is all the data that we collect under these third parties, and also the terms and services, which I'm sure most of us aren't reading. We're essentially allowing them to monetize our rights through advertisers in a secondary market, which we just aren't a part of. So Elastos kind of is infrastructure to enable you to have complete ownership of your rights and the infrastructure to own your identity online. So it's really fundamentally important for how we usher in this next generation to be a part of the internet and not get left behind. Now, it has a currency and it's called ELA. It somewhat mimics Bitcoin in its scarcity. So there's only 28 million ELA, but it's a currency for this Web3 and how you can purchase and you can interact with smart contracts. You use it as gas, but you can also pay for things. And it is merge mined with Bitcoin. So for listeners who aren't sure what that means, effectively in 2010, Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder of Bitcoin, he put out a post on the Bitcoin forum saying, what if Bitcoin could basically what if other projects could essentially tap into Bitcoin and share its security, its resources, and create, these side chains or these kind of parallel ecosystems that's grounded in Bitcoin security. So what you have then is you have Bitcoin miners are basically creating blocks for the Elastos blockchain. And they're getting in return some ELA rewards. So at no additional cost, they're using the same computation they use for Bitcoin to solve Elastos's blockchain in return for some ELA rewards. But for Elastos, what that means is it's now secured by Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is by far the most secure system we've seen based on its decentralization. There's nothing that's more decentralized, and really it's more secure than like dozens or if not all the supercomputers in the world combined. So Elastos has 50%, ELA has 50% of Bitcoin's security, which is pretty significant. So I'd encourage the listeners just to head over to elastos.info and actually check out kind of all the technology that's been built there, because we have Bitcoin as a financial layer, we have Elastos as the infrastructure to own your own digital identity, and then the project which I'm building, otherwise Elasticity, is about creating a marketplace to actually trade different rights and create inclusive markets. So it all plays a massive, it all comes together and converges into this really exciting picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us an idea, Sasha, in terms of where you're at on this journey? Like, any kind of metrics you can share as to people that are starting to use elasticity? Where are we at?
Sure. So BeL2 and the Bitcoin protocol that we're building, we put out our minimal viable product about 2 months ago, and it effectively showcased that this is possible to communicate with other EVM blockchains. At the end of this month, we will be enabling a new service. I won't go into too much detail on what that service is, but it's essentially, I think, a much more useful service for Bitcoin holders and how they can interact and leverage that Bitcoin. We've had, I mean, from BeL2, it's very young in the actual technology aspects, but it's had really good engagement from our community, which is roughly around 2,000 to 3,000 users who are playing around and testing. It's extremely helpful from our side to have a community, and this is what Web3 offers, because it's a board in which you can basically refine everything into the ultimate platform. So BeL2 is next month will be in consensus in Texas, and we'll be showcasing this this month, at the end of this month, and showcasing this technology. From Elasticity side, which is the marketplace, the ability to encrypt digital assets into what we call digital capsules and then make tradable as rights online. So you effectively tokenize keys in how you can decrypt content. And every time those keys are traded, the payment is distributed out to all the rights holders, which is another set of tokens, all managed with blockchain governance. Now, we did our minimal viable product for video. You can head over to ela.city and you can see. And we had someone in our community who did a podcast with Rong Chen and then encrypted and uploaded, and he made $5,500 in less than 24 hours monetizing with the world. So what we showcased is when you're in control of your data and there's a demand for it, and you can actually sell that data to the world, the amount of value that you can draw back directly to yourself with that independence using Elastos toolsets where you can own your identity is staggering. Because Silicon Valley and all these big tech companies, they wouldn't be anything without your data, and you're an asset all the time when you're online. You're producing data which is valuable and essentially being sold to others to drive their business models. But we allow you now to create your own business model and to just go direct with the world. So that's a huge statistic for us to kind of showcase. And in the next 2 months, we're going to be opening up really the next round. We're in alpha stage, which is the kind of early stage. Next, we showcase beta, which is going to have all of these new tool sets for creators to monetize. And then we'll start to basically make it available across more ecosystems, and we'll leverage BeL2 as a means in which you could, for instance, take a loan out against your Bitcoin, enter into Elasticity, and you can interact with all of these digital asset services and platforms. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And then Elastos itself, Elastos has been going since late 2017. It's got roughly a $70 million market cap. It's got 50% of Bitcoin's hash power securing it, and it's got some incredible minds and incredible community behind it. So if you're passionate about digital rights and passionate about owning your identity and participating in the digital economy, I really encourage to learn more about Elastos and all the projects building within it.
Fantastic. Look, as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, then Sasha, there's just so much going on all these different properties. Elasticity, Elastos. I'm not even sure if I'm saying these right. BeL2 as well. Can you just shout out the different websites for all of the different products and platforms so people can go and have a look for themselves, please, Sasha?
Of course. So BeL2, head over to BeL2, that's BEL2.org, and you can learn about everything we're doing and what we say, making Bitcoin smart. For Elastos, you can head over to elastos.info. That's elastos.info. It's a community. This is a community-run Web3. So there's so much to learn about our DAO, and this is a whole nother topic in itself, our governance. But even elastos.info is a community-run website educating about all the tool sets. So teams building on Elastos are all around the world in different pockets. And if you really wanted to go into a live chat environment, join the Elastos Telegram, where you can actually interact with the community. But that's all on the website, so elastos.info. And then for Elasticity, which is the digital marketplace that I'm founder of, head over to ela.city. And that will showcase a live platform that's on Elastos today that is showcasing what is our digital rights management system, and that's in itself, I think, a really exciting kind of project that's going to just get more and more traction as the services kind of roll out. And then finally, to follow me, if you head over to Twitter, you can follow me on Sash, SASH __ MIT. So there'll be links in my Twitter as well to the Elastos and BeL2 and Elasticity Twitters as well. So yeah, that's probably all of them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sasha. And I'll put links to those in the show notes as well, listeners. I think what we do now, Sasha, is we're going to do a very quick break and then we'll come back. We will finish off by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second. And boom, just like that, we are back. And I'm with Sasha Mitchell, who, of course, is head of operations at BeL2, making a Bitcoin smart again through clever use of some Bitcoin layer 2s. Sasha, I like to finish each podcast with a very quick round of rapid fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Let's do it. I'm excited, Andy.
All right, I'm just going to run some questions at you, Sasha. I just want you to give us kind of rapid fire hot take style answers. No right or wrong way to do it. Question one for you, Sasha, is where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I'd probably sit dead in the middle. I believe Bitcoin is fundamentally a new financial ecosystem, and I believe that we need the multi-chain aspects to allow it to scale, but also to manage digital rights, which fundamentally are as important as finance. Property and ownership is a huge thing. So I sit in the middle because they're both equally important.
Yeah, very well said. A fence sitter. No, I joke. What would you say then, Sasha, is your firmest conviction, crypto opinion?
Um, actually, the Bitcoin is going to be the new financial, the global layer. It has 1.2 trillion roughly of market cap today. It's 3 times bigger than Ethereum, and there's over 46 million Bitcoin holders today, holding at least $1 worth of value. That is a network effect similar to the internet that is going to continue to grow and will be exacerbated by the monetary system, which is ultimately breaking down.
Yeah, very well said. Have to ask though, it's topical because well, it's happening right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but we seem to have suffered a little bit of a crash in the Bitcoin markets. Well, today really down to 56,900 at the moment. Any kind of hot take or not? Just observation of current market conditions.
Sure. So most people, in my opinion, overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in a few decades. And I believe that's the same for the markets. When we zoom out and we look at what we're achieving in the big picture here, it's a clear picture. So yeah, don't zoom in from day to days. I think we had a massive run up both from the ETF excitement prior to the Bitcoin halving. We're now on the other side. We need to kind of return to our mean average, which is still higher than what it was for the years prior to what we're seeing now. And just think about how this year is going to end with the elections in the US and how it's going to continue to play a part based on the fact that there is $34 trillion worth of debt in the US today. That's roughly $102,000 per citizen of debt. And I do think we either sustain this by printing more debt, or we have a big crash. And history shows that we kick the can down the road. So in times of crisis like COVID, the picture was clear that we printed and we saw Bitcoin rise. And in similar ways, I think, with how things are moving, I suspect we will continue to see this picture. And Bitcoin is a life raft. It's a very important life raft.
Yes, very well said. Very well said, Sasha. And look, you kind of said it yourself, but another person who said it is Bill Gates. The way he phrased it was that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, with that in mind, I mean, we've talked a little bit about, I guess, the kind of long-term view for Bitcoin, but do the same thing for, I guess, BeL2. Yeah, 10 years. What does it start to look like? Digital
In
rights
10
on
years,
Bitcoin.
yeah, in 10 years, economies will be powered by Bitcoin in ways in which we didn't see today. And that's natural because we can't, it's hard to estimate. When we look at a horizon, it looks like it's, we say it's not too far away, but it's actually a lot further than we do. It's difficult to rationalize. And in the same way, when we look at technologies, we're going to see AI, automation, and robotics integrated into our lives more than we can envision. We're going to see huge job displacements in the markets, but we're going to see Bitcoin and technologies like Elastos with Elasticity creating inclusive markets in which we can participate in. So you will have the ability to own rights to AIs, which generate you income every time they're used. In the same way to 3D printing, to all types of intellectual property, robots, you'll see being able to monetize your own cars. You'll be able to see, self-driving cars. You'll be able to buy recipes for your robots who might be rentable that can create you, Gordon Ramsay's lasagna or can help you with mobility. There's going to be all of these incredible shifts in how we operate in society and how that interacts. But my core belief is that BeL2 will empower this next generation where Bitcoin will be the kind of underlying security layer to these systems. And for those who are earning income, you will be able to use that income to put it into your Bitcoin savings account. And each year, that savings accounts won't lose value exponentially like we see today, but actually it will grow in value and it will become, allow you to have better purchasing power. So very exciting for the future.
Very exciting indeed. All right. Well, speaking of the future, William Gibson famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Sasha, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
So I think I think just fundamentally I think AI, for instance, I think we're seeing models which just haven't been unleashed yet. Usually, a model is done around a year prior to its release, and then there's all the fine tuning and all the things that take place. So I do think we're going to probably I think we're miscalculating where we're going to be by 2030. And actually, where we are right now is in an exponential curve for artificial intelligence. And actually, there's probably a lot of things we aren't quite aware of and how that's going to power things today. So one thing, for instance, the next thing we're going to see is the ability to just build applications on demand using your Bitcoin, sorry, using your AI, and then monetizing that with the world as well becomes very important.
And look, let's not forget those killer armies of tiny little microscopic attack drones. Sasha, what slaughter drones was it?
Slaughter bots, yeah. So
Slaughter
YouTube
bots.
slaughter bots, but this is the other side. It's if we are increasingly printing more debt, and we are devaluing our currencies, it creates more arguments globally. So historically, you have finger pointing that happens internally first, and we look at the US elections, and probably that's a great example of internal finger pointing. But then when that kind of clears up, you start to finger point outwardly. So there is always going to be a risk that all the issues regarding the older monetary system and the debt that's in that system, it gets resolved through things like wars. So I am a firm believer that we need good legislation in basically these new technologies and how they are used. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out that video. And I believe there's a petition that's attached to it and how you can actively participate in those kinds of topics.
Yeah, and look, it kind of brings us nicely to the final question. And I guess my challenge, Sasha, to you is let's see if you can come up with perhaps a utopian answer as opposed to a dystopian answer. I'm sure you can, but the final question is, what is your favorite science fiction, a book, a film, or TV show? Can't say Slaughterbots, even though it's a doco. It still looks a bit sci-fi to me. I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry now. I'm giving you time to think of a good answer while I look at the Wikipedia page for Slaughterbots. But yeah,
Yes.
fave sci-fi, utopian sci-fi is yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't
Doesn't
know if
have to
it's
be utopian.
utopian.
It
So
doesn't
not
have to be.
utopian, but very interesting to me was Ex Machina by Alex Garland, which
Yeah,
is about AI, an AI that was a robot AI that was created, and basically how it manipulated humans' emotions. Sorry, not
yes,
very not very utopian,
no.
but the intersection of basically these technologies, maybe utopian for robots and AI that break free, but certainly. I just think from a cinematic perspective, it was really interesting and thought-provoking. And Alex Garland, I actually worked with him on another TV series he did called Devs, which is looking at quantum computing and developers, and it's another great series. But I've always been fascinated by his directing style, and getting to watch it was also equally interesting. So I was something like Ex Machina, tying in everything we've talked about, but creating a utopian future where we use these these new financial layers and these new digital rights layers to create participatory economies which we can be a part of, I think is integral. So let's hope that's not the reality we see, but a good film.
Yep. Ex Machina, it's a fantastic film. Great selection. Yeah. So, and Devs as well. I think I watched maybe one episode of Devs, but I do remember Devs being highly regarded. But yeah, great. Yeah, so fantastic. All right. Sasha, this was fun. I didn't expect to be talking about slaughter bots. And like, yeah, attack assassination drone armies with you today, but here we go. I might put a link to Slaughterbots in the show notes as well, because yeah, fascinating. Yeah, it's basically Black Mirror hated in the nation. Sasha, look, finish it off. Just again, please tell people where they can go to learn about BeL2 and yeah, digital rights on Bitcoin, everything that you're building, and yeah, how people can find you on Twitter, wherever else you like to hang out online.
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter at Sash__MIT. That generally gives links to both BeL2 and Elasticity. And if you'd like to go to the websites themselves, it's bel2.org or ela.city, so ela.city. And yeah, come and learn more. I mean, there's dystopian talks and they can always be interesting, but I'm super optimistic about how these new technologies are going to benefit humanity, and I do feel like it's a calling which everyone should be a part of because it directly benefits you. So if you're interested in both the dystopian side and also how to prevent that and the kind of utopian excitement of these new possibilities, blockchains fundamentally are about bringing trust into a trustless environment, and that's through cooperation and kind of collective governance. So it's an exciting time to be in for this innovation, and I do firmly believe that AI is having an inflection point right now, and we've seen it with how much is going on. But I don't believe Bitcoin or Web3 has had its inflection point just yet. A lot of that's to do with user experience, but that's all coming. And this inflection point is going to be all about, independence with your finance and rights. And it's going to open these doors in ways which I think people perhaps underestimate today. So this year into next year is going to be extremely exciting. So please follow me, come get involved, join our communities, and yeah, be a part of this.
Yeah, fantastic. Very well articulated, Sasha. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you today. All the best and bye for now.
Likewise, Andy. Thank you.
All right, there you go. That was Sasha from BeL2. Yeah, and I know, I guess we talked about it, didn't we? But yeah, Slaughterbots, crazy idea. Yeah. So as I say, I put a link in the show notes. I haven't watched I haven't watched it, but I'm going to. It's a short film, short doco, raise awareness of yeah, what can go wrong when you just keep extrapolating out exponentially advancing AI with ever miniaturization of drones. And yeah, well, you've just got little drone armies that can go and assassinate anyone. Yeah, so it is quite dystopian, but of course you've got to be aware of these things so we can turn it around, make sure it doesn't happen, I guess. Yeah. All right, we reached the end of another show. I do hope you enjoyed that. Ex Machina, now there's a great film. Might go watch Ex Machina. Devs also good, apparently. All right. That's us. Thanks, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. Bye for now.